Welcome to Single Tree Nation Show. I'm your host, Charlie Eblin, founder, owner of Single Tree Woodfire Barbecue. Our show is on a mission of growing community through the online storytelling and digital hospitality. We thank you for tuning in and enjoy the show. All right. I love it. I love it. Well, Mr. Brandon Styll, welcome. Welcome, multi-business operator, podcast host, director of Maribel's and what is it, Green Hills Grill, isn't that right?
That is correct. Yes.
Two amazing restaurants that I grew up going to. You get the privilege of running, which is amazing. You're the host of Nation Restaurant Radio.
Nashville Restaurant
Radio. Nation, what is that? I'm trying to mix up my podcast and yours. we're gonna have a mashup here. Nashville Restaurant Radio, and then something that I don't know about because we've never discussed it, but the New Light Hospitality Solutions.
Yes.
So I want to dive into that for sure.
Okay.
We met back in April.
Yeah.
So I know a little bit about you, and I got lots of questions to dive into more. But on my show, what I like to do is give everybody 60 seconds to tell me who you are, tell the world who you are, and what you do. Give me your elevator pitch and go.
I am an entrepreneur. I'm a visionary and an integrator. If you are in the EOS world, I like to, I can't sleep at night because I constantly can't stop thinking about tomorrow. And I also obsess about perfection and excellence and leaders and developing other people. And all of that is a melting pot that runs into operating 2 restaurants, a podcast, a consulting company. I'm a dad to William and Matthew, my 7 and 9-year-old boys, and I'm a husband to Jennifer. And I can be more proud of all of those things.
That is amazing, man. It's amazing. So before we got live and started talking, we were talking about how you get all of that done, right? And it's amazing how we, as an entrepreneur and a small business owner and a restaurant director, and being all of those things, a husband, a father, a barbecuist, that is something near and dear to my heart as well.
I'm learning. My goal is to become a pit master.
Oh, I love it, man. I love it. It's I don't think you ever become a true master. I think you just become a true master of the love of it, right? So it's a blast. So, but we were talking about how you get all that stuff done, right? And I heard a quote earlier or yesterday maybe about I'd rather be tired than broke, right? So that quote got me thinking.
Okay.
Right. So, and I think how we get things done, and I would love to hear your thoughts, but I think how we get things done is not necessarily because we're exhausted all the time. But there's always a burning fire inside of us that says, I can do more. I need to do more.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that just is my favorite quote of all time comes from Henry Ford, and it's whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And the actual quote is whether you think you can do a thing or you think you can't do a thing, you're right. And I believe that. Like, I think that everybody in the world tells you what you can't do. And I live in a world where my brain constantly thinks of things that I can do, and then I just try them. I fail a lot. I think that's the key. I said something to my kid the other night, my oldest son. I said something that sounded smart to him, and he said, "Dad, how come you're so smart?" And I went, "Well, let me tell you." But there's that moment where you can do the cliche. Well, I went to school and I studied hard, and I didn't do those things. I hated school. When I looked at him, I saw that as one of those teachable moments, and I sat down with him and I said, dude, I'll tell you why I'm so smart. I go, because I messed up. I made a lot of mistakes. Right. I go, I have failed so many times, and I keep learning from those things. And every time I mess up, I keep learning. And I go, and one thing I can tell you, you're going to make a lot of mistakes too. And it's okay. Just keep trying. Like,
Right.
keep going.
Right.
And that really in a nutshell is it. Like, I don't know. I feel like the potential for each individual person, we live in this comfort zone of this feels nice. I don't need to do more. And I, for some reason, don't have that gene. Like, I like to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like, I enjoy going into realms that I don't know what's going to happen next. And I like failing. I like getting into that. I'm like, wow, what did I just learn? That was really cool. I think living in a comfort zone every day limits your ability to grow. And I just like growing. I have awe and wonder. I have an insatiable curiosity for everything I don't know. And I'm never comfortable just going, yeah, I know everything. Like, I loved wine when I was younger, not because, I mean, I'm an alcoholic, but like, not because of that. I just love the idea that I'll never learn everything about it. Like, I'm constantly going to be learning, kind of like barbecue. Like, you'll never get to be a master.
Yeah. You never, I think if you, if you continuously have a curiosity, you never want to stop.
Yeah.
Right. You just, it's like Abraham Lincoln said, I want to walk slow. I never want to walk backwards. And, it doesn't, you can win the race, right? If you continuously walk forward and not go backwards. So
awe and wonder, you see it in your
wonder.
children's eyes all the time. And
every
like,
day.
Why do we
Every
as
day.
adults forget that awe and wonder are out there?
Oh yeah.
Keep chasing it.
Oh yeah. It's my 11-year-old plays baseball.
Yeah.
And he is more curious about the baseball swing than anything else in his life. He wants to master the mechanics. And then, okay, well, if I can master the mechanics of the baseball swing, then I can quote unquote hit nukes.
Yeah, right? No, I'm with you on that.
So, but it's amazing. You bring up the kids, right? And as adults, I think we lose that. I heard another quote the other day that said, you want to know why poor people are poor? Because they don't believe that they can be rich.
Yeah. I mean, there's
flat out. Just that simple. They don't believe they can have it, so they're never going to have it.
You're overweight. Think like a thin person.
Right.
Like, what would they do tomorrow? What would that person be doing? Would they be going to McDonald's 3 times a day?
I think you take the curiosity and then multiply that with action, and then things start happening for you, right? So
I don't know. Yeah. I guess.
Yeah.
Everybody has their own thing.
They do. Well, let's jump into a little bit. So, like I said earlier, I wanted you New Light Hospitality Solutions.
Yeah.
So, tell me about New Light Hospitality Solutions. What is it? Where did it come from? How did it start?
It started in February of 2020.
Okay.
I had lost my job as director of operations for both Green Hills Grill and Maribel in the end of October 2019. Coincidentally, that's the time I quit drinking. There's a story in there, and I did a full podcast on it on my show where I told my whole story. But essentially, I lost my job because I did something stupid while I was drinking. And fast forward to the end of that year, I started recovery and really did a lot of deep soul searching. And I've been praying, doing a lot of just like, what am I going to do with myself? I had a couple really good interviews that just didn't pan out for the craziest reasons. I mean, I tell you stories around these interviews that was like, what the really?
Right.
And I wanted to help people in restaurants continue to succeed. And so there's the consulting way of, oh, you're going to be a consultant. Like, that's a cop out. Like, just go do the job. And people hate consultants to a degree. But one of the things I really wanted to do was help people save money when it came down to purchasing their main products. So vendor negotiations was going to be one of my number one things. And I'll explain what that means. I never really have done this because it's kind of a thing I do on the side,
right?
That I help people, and I don't broadcast it a lot. But I was the original managing partner for Creation Gardens, or what they call What Chefs Want now.
Yep.
I was the street sales manager for Fresh Point, largest produce company. And then I went to US Foods, where I was a district sales manager for 3.5 years. So I learned how these companies worked, how cost was derived. And there's a real epidemic, in my opinion, about locally owned and operated people buying from multiple companies because they felt like they could get the better deal. And I saw it time and time again, like it doesn't work. You're buying from 4 different, and I'll tell you the story. There was the 10 Angel. Across the street from 10 Angel was Maggiano's.
Yep.
And Maggiano's was buying, 150 cases at a time, buying everything through us at Fresh Point. Then across the street, 10 Angel, they were buying from 4 different companies, from produce companies. And I'm getting a better deal. And he came and he said, well, dude, why am I paying $35 a case for romaine? I got a prep cook who works over at Maggiano's during the daytime. And he says they're paying $23 a case. I'm like, yeah, that's right. And he goes, what's up with that? And I go, well, they buy it cost me $100 to make a delivery. That's the average cost. For me to back my truck up here, the average cost is $100. And you buy 8 cases at a time from me. So if you buy 8 cases from me, I got to charge you $13.50 above each case in order for me to make $5.
Right.
I don't know if the math exactly works on that, but it's around there, right?
Yeah.
8 cases. Yeah. It's I got to make like $5. And so with them, they buy 110 cases at a time. If I charge them $2 a case, I make twice as much money from that delivery than I do from you. But you're buying from 4 different companies. You're buying 50 cases a day, or 50 cases a delivery.
Mm-hmm.
You could get there, but you don't trust people. So it's a math problem, and it's a factor of, hey, look, let me help you do that. And I knew the right people at all of the right companies. So I said, let me help people negotiate. And I did it for my company, Green Hills Grill and Mare Bowl. And it was amazing. You take all of your purchases, you put them all together, you identify what you want, how you're going to partner with this company. And then I go to the right people and I put all the numbers to them and I tell them what we want. I represent the restaurant and I get you a great deal. We sign a 3-year deal with one company, put all of our eggs in. Now that's not necessarily, if you want to buy local and you want to buy from this person, great, no problem. We figure all that out.
Right.
But then I've probably worked with 10 restaurants in the past couple of years, and I've made each one,
significant money,
north of $50,000 each. Yeah. Each restaurant, when you put all of that into one thing and you say, let me really advocate for you.
Right.
Restaurateurs aren't negotiators.
No, we're not.
They're not people that negotiate. And there's a real tactic involved with negotiating. There's a ton of things that people don't recognize going to that. If you're really great at barbecue, you're really great at barbecue. You might not be really good at negotiating a deal amongst 5 different broadline companies and produce companies, and how do they intertwine? And that's what I do. So I'm really good at doing that, and I have those relationships, and I've been able to help a lot of people. So that's something I do. It's almost on the side.
Yep.
New Light Hospitality is that, and then operations consulting, where I sit down and kind of just talk to you and see what you're doing, and if there's recommendations I can do. That was going to be my business. And then February of 2020, I was going to start my big consulting company. I signed up Green Hills Grill and Mare Bowl as my first 2 clients, Germantown Pub, and then Germantown Cafe signed up on March the 2nd. Let's get going. And then March the 2nd, that night, a tornado came in and took out the Germantown Cafe. And I was like, well, that's not good. And the Germantown Pub was right there. And hey, well, while we were trying to recover from a tornado, the pandemic happened. And you know what people weren't hiring when the pandemic started? Operations consultants.
They weren't really hiring anybody.
That wasn't a thing.
I lost my job in October that year, so I know.
It was a tough situation. So I pivoted, started podcast, started doing a bunch of other different things. But New Light has just been one of those things that's been there, and it's been kind of my umbrella company for the podcast.
Okay.
And all of the negotiations that I do for people currently. And I'm working on one right now. I like to do one at a time. One at a time. And it's weird because I don't really seek them out. I don't call people and be like, let me, I bet I can make you $100,000 today. I don't do that, but it's weird because they just, like I said, I pray about stuff, and then somebody will call me and go, hey, I heard you do that, man. Can I talk to you about that? And I'm like, sure, what's up? And then next thing you know, I'm working a deal for somebody. And then when that ends, I work a deal for somebody else. And it's just kind of it's weird the way life works out.
I love it.
That's New Light. That's New Light Hospital. And New Light was based around my new light in life, based on the John Mayer song, New Light, which I really love, that John Mayer song. But my logo is a huge rainbow, which has to do with my recovery. And then my new light in life.
Well, you answered my next question.
Yeah.
Look, I don't even have to ask questions to you. It's outstanding. You can just keep talking, and I'll just sit here and be in awe.
I can just talk all day. I started a podcast.
Right.
I just like
I love
talking.
it, man. I love it. All right. So speaking of podcast, we'll move into that.
Sure.
The Nashville Restaurant Radio. So you started a podcast, which I had the pleasure of being on.
Yeah. It's an awesome episode.
I love it. I love it. What so you're a restaurant guy. You've done a lot in the restaurant business. What sparked you to sit in a studio and talk to ugly mugs like me?
You know, it's interesting. When I was 20 years old, I worked at Amerigo in Brentwood, and I went to MTSU. So I would drive back and forth to Murfreesboro, where we are now, and we would get off work and we'd go have drinks and we'd talk about our night. And I thought, man, how cool would it be if I went on like Lightning 100 or some like local station, and we hosted like a Nashville restaurant radio where people could call in and servers could tell their stories. You know, just a call-in show where we talked about restaurant stuff, and then all the servers of town could call in and be like, let me tell you what this asshole did today, or let me tell you.
Right.
I just thought that would be really revolutionary for guests to listen to what people really thought about their behaviors.
Yeah.
And I think it would be very educational for etiquette when it came to restaurants. And then it would be an outlet for the service industry where there's so much frustration, there's so much trauma, there's so much mental health issues and alcoholism and drug abuse. Like, this would be an outlet for people to listen and feel seen. So that was my idea when I was 20, working there doing that. And it never really worked out. I was in school, all these things are happening. And so when I started the consulting company, as I would meditate in the morning and as I would pray, this idea kept coming up like, man, I have sat in so many kitchens next to chefs that were cutting salmon, you know, just like, hey, how's it going, chef? You know, because as a rep, I've been over 1,000 kitchens, over 1,000 kitchens in Nashville over the past 15 years. And I've had so many amazing conversations, and it's different. It's different from East Nashville to West Nashville to the Nations to West End to downtown to Brentwood to Murfreesboro to Mountain.
Right.
We work in these four walls all day long. And so I had this idea. I'm going to start Nashville Restaurant Radio. And it just was something I had all these, my ideas were just going crazy. I called my dad and I said, hey, will you help me figure out how to start a podcast? And so he did a little research. And then my brother, the guy that shares my brother's company, his name is Neil McCormick used to be at Yazoo Brewery, but now he's with Tall Boy Marketing. He goes, man, you should check out Anchor. And I went, what? So I checked out Anchor. And then I went I went to Best Buy and I bought like a microphone, and, you know, I didn't know what anything was. But I had bought a logo, and I kind of was just getting ready because this consulting thing, what I was going to do as I went around consulting people, I thought, hey, I'm going to hear a lot of good stories. I'll share my stories of my travels as I'm consulting I'll just do a show around it, and I'll start creating that community. Well, I had everything ready. I literally had everything ready. Had no idea when I was going to start or how I was going to start. And then March 14th happened. Everything closed. March 13th. I think my first episode was March 14th, but everything closed. And it was just like, holy shit. Like,
now what?
They just canceled March Madness. Like, there's no more basketball. There's no more base. They just canceled spring training. I tried to turn the hockey game on the previous night, and it's like, this game is postponed. There's no more hockey. And I was floored. And then I was online, and I kept seeing people post online that said, we wash our hands. Don't worry about it. Come out and eat. You know, we're clean. We're a clean restaurant. People were posting their health department scores in an effort to like bolster business because it was dead everywhere. It was slowing down. Nobody wanted to go out to eat.
Right.
And so I was talking to my brother, who owns Tallboy Marketing. He goes, do you think that's the best idea? He goes, for people to be posting out there on a medium that anybody can screenshot and keep forever, that you need to be coming out to our restaurant because we wash our hands. Because what if this thing kills millions of people and it starts in somebody's restaurant who said, you need to come out and eat here? Is it responsible for restaurants to do that right now? They just closed all these major sports. Why are restaurants not proactively saying, let's do the right thing and close? And so I just thought it was an interesting topic.
Yeah.
And I went, I looked at my wife and I go, I'm going to go make a podcast. Like, I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go talk to myself about this part of the conversation. I'm just
Yeah.
going to put it out there. And so I did. I went upstairs in my bonus room. I pulled the microphone out and I just had that conversation I just kind of had with you on the microphone. And I went, and it was like this this change in me. And I was like,
Right.
whoa, like that felt really good. Like that was amazing. And it ignited a fire inside of me that I hadn't felt in a long time. Now,
Right.
I lost my job. I'm in recovery. I'm starting a business. I'm scared.
Oh yeah.
I bought my dream home 15 days before I lost my job.
Oof.
I mean, like, I'm scared. And I did this and I went, wow. So that night I went on Facebook and I posted, I said, hey, I'm starting a podcast. It's called Nashville Restaurant Radio. Does anybody want to talk about what's going on in their lives? And literally, like, my phone just started blowing up. And people were like, I want to talk about it. I want to. So I had a cell phone on speakerphone next to my microphone as I'm talking. I'm doing interviews from my speakerphone to the microphone. I have no clue what I'm doing. I don't know.
Outstanding.
And so that was like my first multiple episodes. And then like it caught on really fast. Like people were like, oh shit, this is really cool. And then I started getting, in my first interview was like Margot McCormick and Carrie Bringle. That was like episodes 2 and 3. Because they both were like, I want to be on it. And I went immediately over there and met with them in person and tried to set up this janky like microphone in front of them that we shared. And like, who knows? But I learned a lot and it just has taken off since then. From then it became hey, we're all having to close our restaurants and everybody's going to be alone. And I wanted to share experiences. And there's no leadership book that says this is how you lead throughout a pandemic. So I wanted to kind of chronicle what real leadership looked like and kind of pick the brains of people who were in the middle of it, what they were going through, how they were helping. Brian Lee Weaver, in the moment when he started, the text message that started Tennessee Action for Hospitality, I had him on like the next day. Yeah. Then you had Caroline and Tony Galzin on, who were, she was the president of that. And like, they started lobbying Congress to get to-go drinks. And like, I was interviewing people as that was happening. Yeah. And it was really kind of cool to go. Yeah. I mean, it was an amazing moment just to kind of capture the biggest global pandemic we've had in our generation ever. Yeah. Like through the whole, like you can go back and listen to all of it right now. I know. It's cool.
I was looking through it day before yesterday. Yeah.
270 episodes live. I've done like 15 best of shows, but like 270 interviews.
It's incredible.
In less than 3 years.
So on the same lines of that, we in my show we do 2 random questions throughout the show.
Cool.
So and in that, so you've interviewed 270 people, right? If you could interview anyone, past or present, who would it be? Doesn't have to be a restaurant.
No, I know. I would probably say like Eddie Vedder.
Okay.
There's like an Abraham Lincoln, John Kennedy. There's one of those, like, there's an answer I should say that people
I don't know what you should say. I want to know what you want.
There's always the real cerebral, like, oh, that's a great fuck. That's the one you should do.
Right.
I am like the biggest Pearl Jam fan in the world. Okay. And like Pearl Jam got me through my teenage angst and everything. Right. And I've seen them multiple times. Like to sit in a room and get to really learn about Eddie Vedder would be a dream. Like that would just be one of those things that I could cross off my list.
You've just interviewed Eddie Vedder.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now you're done with the interview. You get up, he leaves. What'd you learn from him? Or what would you want to learn from him?
I would want to learn. That's a great question. I would probably start pulling up songs and be like, and why go home when she scratches a letter into a wall made of stone? Tell me, what were you thinking when you wrote that? I like Howard Stern is another. Howard Stern is another one. Eddie Vedder or Howard Stern. Howard Stern maybe even more so. If I had more time to think about this question, maybe Howard Stern, because he's one of those people who's interviewed everybody.
That's an intricate mind to deal with too.
Yeah. And the ability to not give a shit what anybody in the world thinks about you, and the what he went through with the FCC and all, like, to this day, I mean, how many people just look at him and think he's just the worst person in the world, yet beloved by so many people, and me being one of those people. I think that a conversation with him, like really getting into the details of like why he does what he does and how he does it, if he was, and I think he would be completely honest, but that would be something that would be I would learn a lot. So what I learned from Eddie Vedder, his politics, the ability to drive through, like the ability to say the things he said out loud and with true conviction and what that really means. Like I would want to learn, because I think he's a leader. With what I mean, in 1992, they took on Ticketmaster.
Yeah.
As a band, they said, we're not using Ticketmaster. You're charging too many fees. They went to the Supreme Court against Ticketmaster as a monopoly. I mean, look at today with the Taylor Swift thing. We're talking about Ticketmaster. In 2022, they merged with Live Nation, and you're like, this is 1992. Or we're talking 30, is that 30 years ago? 30 years ago, Pearl Jam was going against, like, tell me about that. Like, I want to know the true form of somebody, what that level of passion and that level of we want to change the world for the better takes something deep inside of you. And that is something that inspires the shit out of me. And I'd want to learn what it is about him that gives him the confidence or the ability to do that. And how would that inspire me? Because I love being inspired.
Yeah, that makes two of us. That speaking of inspiration, so I know you're an Anthony Bourdain fan.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right. So we share a love there, because he's a pretty incredible individual, right? And I'm sure you heard it, but I want to get your thoughts, because I read this, and I read this quite often. He had a quote, and it says, eat at a local restaurant tonight. Get the cream sauce. Have a cold pint at 4:00 in a mostly empty bar. Go somewhere you've never been. Listen to someone you think you may have nothing in common with you. Order the steak. Eat an oyster. Have a Negroni. Have two. Be open to a world where you may not understand or agree with the person that's next to you, but have a drink with them anyways. Eat slowly, tip your server, check in on your friends, check in on yourself, and enjoy the ride.
Amen.
I think it's just like an amazing quote, right? And you talk about interviewing people, and the more I learn about Anthony, the more that I want to like go back and talk to him, right? Because from a restaurant standpoint, he was almost like a messiah. Like the guy just got it.
He was one of those people. Like I think that statement you just read, that quote you just read, was essentially what I said kind of to start the show.
Right.
You got to get uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You got to have awe and wonder. Have a Negroni. Go try this. Eat that. Do that. Like, don't be afraid to try things in life. He is an inspiration to me. Really, is based around that whole idea of oh man, what was I inspiration to me based on the idea of just make mistakes.
Yeah.
He's not like an innovator when it comes to like cuisine. We're not talking about Anthony Bourdain because he made the best Dover sole, or he was the inventor of this. Yeah. What he did really, really well was he documented all of his mistakes. He documented what it was like for him growing up in the industry, which a lot of people identified with. Mm-hmm. I've had his second book was one of the most powerful things he said was, people all the time walk up to me and they say, oh my God, or they hand him drugs, or they come up to and they go, man, you're my hero. I want to be just like you. And he's like, no. I don't think you understand. The book, Kitchen Confidential, was my story. This is a what not to do.
Right.
It's not a, oh, you could live this life too. While you might read that and have identification for it, this wasn't a book that was like, I'm not glorifying it. What I'm saying is this was my experience in this industry. It doesn't have to be that way for you. And that's what I'm saying. Like his whole life was just a matter of, I'm just going to try new things and I'm going to be unapologetic about trying new things. And when I mess up, I'm going to go, yep, fucked up. That was me. I did that. And then what did you, and then I think he had an amazing ability to learn from all of those things. So that statement really is a collection of a bunch of experiences in life that he had, that he says, you should go try these things, whether you like it or don't like it. How do you know? He inspired me from Kitchen Confidential, talking about eating an oyster. He was in France and he went out with his family on a boat, and in low tide, the boat sat on the mud, and the guy jumped off the boat and he pulled a bunch of oysters, came back into the boat and said, who wants to eat an oyster? And everybody was like, they're disgusting. There's a bunch of mud caked around a shell. And then this guy's going to open one up to this slimy thing inside. Like, who wants to eat this? And everybody's like, fuck that.
Right.
And he said, I'll give it a shot. And he ate it. And he was like, that was one of the most delicious things I've ever had in my life. Also, the story about when he ordered gazpacho, and he said, I ordered the soup and it came and it was cold. And I said, this is not soup. This is cold. And he goes, no, this soup is cold. And he goes, no. I don't think you understand. Soup is not cold. He goes, this soup is cold. He goes, and when my mind went to soup can be cold, he was like, left was right, white was black. I was and that's when he said, I was completely bitten by that. And it was at that moment that I said, there's nothing in my life I will not eat one time. There's not an experience I will do or I won't do based upon what somebody else thinks. I want to learn for myself if I like it or don't like it. People that go, oh, I don't like those. And I go, well, where'd you have them? And they go, oh, I haven't. I just know I don't like those.
How do you know?
There's
you don't know.
You don't know
you don't
that.
Know.
You have to try things one time. If it's a seal eyeball, I don't know if I want to eat a seal eyeball in a village with a bunch of Eskimos that are in Inuit village where they just did it. And he tells a story of being in a village where they kill a seal and the mom cuts the eyeball out, hands it to him as a delicatessen in their kitchen. He's like, okay.
I talked to a guy the other day. We were talking about smoking stuff. and he said, what kind of wood do you use? And I said, well, I use hickory. Same thing. He goes, oh, I don't like to use hickory. I said, oh, you've done a lot of smoking with hickory? No.
Why don't you like to use hickory?
Why don't you like to use hickory? Oh, it's just too strong. Have you ever used hickory? No. Well, then how do you know?
What does he use?
He uses cherry.
That's what I've been using.
Which cherry wood's amazing. I love using cherry wood.
Yeah.
Now,
you can get it.
I think it's one, if you can get it, two, if you can afford it, three is what are you smoking with it, and what do you want the outcome to be? Right. If you're cooking over an open fire and you're cooking steaks, you probably don't want to use cherry. It doesn't get hot enough. But if you got oak and hickory and mesquite, well, great. That gets hot. You can get a nice sear. It's wonderful, right?
See, that's what I'm trying to learn. That's why I built the pit.
Look,
because I don't know those things.
Look, that was literally I love this. I don't even have to talk.
No segues.
Just go right into it. So when I met you in April, you were talking about building this big hog pit, right?
Yeah.
And so you finally bit the bullet and took the time to build one.
I'm a red-blooded dude. I mean, I'm a dude through and through. I talk about my feelings,
man.
I talk about my feelings a lot on my show because I've learned how to do that. But I like to cook with fire, and I like to cook over a grill, and I have a gas grill, and I've used charcoal like in the past. But Pat Martin wrote a book called Life of Fire, and I read this book, and I was blown away because I was like, man, I don't know how to cook with wood. Like I cook over a gas grill all the time, and I can get a nice medium rare steak. I can do it. I've figured that out, but I don't know how to cook with wood. And I have like cedar in my backyard. I'm like, can I cook with that? I'm like, no, you don't cook with cedar. So I didn't know these things. So when I read the book, and in the middle of it has the schematics on how to build a whole hog pit. And I have like an acre and I have woods in the backyard. I'm like, I could just build one of these in the backyard. Yeah. I have a big bonfire pit. Like I can have a feeder fire. So I had this idea, and I was like, I want to learn to be a pit master. Really, the idea came from road trips. Pat said in the book, he said, I love a good road trip. And he goes, like, I can get on a plane and I can fly to Miami and be there in 2 hours, but I can get in a car with my buddies and take 3 days getting there and stop at all these. It's about the experience
And have
getting
fun,
there.
yeah.
You're like, getting to Miami is cool, but like getting there with your friends. And I could not agree more. Like, I love the road trip side of the trip as much as I like getting there.
Yeah.
My wife is not that way.
Well, I think there's a difference in a road trip and traveling somewhere with vacation with your wife and your kids and your dogs and, you know, all the things. And
well, I'm good with just her. If it's just her and I hopping in a car, she's still like,
no, but that's what I'm saying. There's a difference in a road trip and you know, I think it's probably mainly the children and the animals. But,
yeah. Well, and so
you're not taking a road trip with them.
Doing a whole hog cook is a 30-hour cook. He goes, and really it's about the people who are with you throughout that and the brotherhood and like doing the cook versus at the end of it when you get to eat the hog. And I went, it just spoke to my soul. And I was like, I need that. And after a pandemic, we all been alone for so long. I'm like, I need a bunch of dudes over here cooking meat with me.
It's amazing.
I just wanted that so bad. So I did that. And
have you done the whole hog yet?
No,
okay.
No, I haven't done it. Okay. If you want to come out and do a whole hog with me, I don't.
Hey man, don't tease me.
I don't even know how to begin to do it, but I want. I have the whole thing is ready to go. I've done 2 cooks so far.
Okay.
It takes a lot of wood.
It does.
And I've bought cherry wood is what I've used so far. But literally, I'm just learning. Like I'm building this big feeder fire, and then I'm loading the pit, and then like it gets to like 155, and I put my hand over all that. I want to know what 155 feels like, and then it gets down to 125, and I'm like, I want to feel like what 125 feels like, and I want to know how many scoops of charcoal, like of the actual coals.
Yeah.
Each scoop, how much does that affect the temp? And I'm like, I cook a bunch of pork butts, and I do fat. I didn't know there was a fat cap on a pork butt. I didn't.
Oh yeah.
Do I do it on the pork butt down, or I do it up? So I got like 8 of them. I bought a whole case from work, and I did 3 or 4 different rubs, and I did one rub with the fat cap up and one with the fat cap down, the same rub. Yeah. And so then I took them all off and I tasted them all based upon what I thought. And basically, I'm literally just trying to learn so next time I'll do oak, and the next time I'll do hickory, and the next time I'll do, and then maybe after 10, 15 cooks, I'll go, all right, I think I know the perfect balance of where I need to do this, how I need to do it, and then I'll master it.
Yeah, you get into barbecuing, man, and it's slow. It takes time. It's not there's nothing fast about it. And there's so many other variables besides just the wood and the temperature, right? It's every single pit cooks differently. Every piece of meat that you get will cook differently.
I didn't know any of that.
You know, it's I mean, look, I don't know how many briskets I've cooked, but I've screwed up a lot more than I've made right. And and look, I'm still learning every single day, but it's if you excuse me, like the pit I have on my trailer, it's a great one. I love it. But depending on the time of year, depending on the temperature outside, the humidity in the air, is it raining? Is it sunny?
You got to do it in all the temperature. You got to do,
because there's so many different ways. And
what's the best? Where do you get the best smoke ring? How do you do the best brisket? Is that on like an 80-degree day, or is that like on a 105-degree day, or is it like on a 30-degree day?
I personally, on my pits, the 2 that I have, depending on the 2, the one on my trailer is better in the summertime when it's hot. It gets a lot more moisture in the air.
Okay.
My big offset that I use, it doesn't matter. The temperature outside doesn't really matter as long as it holds humidity very well. So
is humidity a big deal?
It is. So the only difference in my offset is in the wintertime when it gets real dry around here. I take and put a water pan in it. So the water pan helps create moisture in the air of the smoker, so it doesn't in the big chamber, so it won't dry out.
I didn't think about that.
So it's
put a water pan there, and they'll create steam that will then keep it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna do
which helps keeps it moist. So now a lot of people will spritz, right? They'll come in and they'll spray
with apple juice,
and vinegar, and butter, and all the things, right? So now I'll tell you, when you're doing a whole hog, you can do all kinds of fun things with a whole hog. You can, there's people that inject them and they do all amazing things. My favorite is to take a concoction with butter and seasonings and all that and put it in. Once you flip it over and it's,
On its
cooking
back.
on the skin,
Yeah.
right? And it's on its back.
You start it with the other side.
Yeah, I started on the other side. That's and then you flip it over. Once the skin gets a nice crisp and crust, right? And then you flip it over and you get it crispier. But
Okay.
and I take butter and butter, apple juice, apple cider vinegar, and some seasoning, and just throw that in the cavity. And then about every hour and a half, 2 hours, I'll baste all of it with that, just a brush. Oh, it's wonderful.
We got to do this.
The best thing though, you hit the nail on the head when you're doing a whole hog and the cook is that long, right? Because it's 24 to 30 hours. I mean, it's
a
an
full
all
day.
Yeah,
And night. You got to have an overnight guy.
Oh yeah. Is not eating it, but the process.
Yeah.
So we did one for New Year's, and I got outside at we got a small hog, we got a little suckling, and it took about 16 hours. But I got out really, really early in the morning and got the fire going in my smoker. Did it on my offset, so it wasn't a big pit, which is a lot more fun. But and my son, 11 years old, comes outside about 6:30 in the morning and says, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, we're cooking a whole pig today." And so I showed him the pig, and he got just the eyes were huge. He was just having a blast, right? But the best part about it was, as soon as he saw it and saw what I was doing, he stayed right by my side for the rest of the day.
That's amazing.
He wanted to learn everything he could learn about it and enjoy the process, which is not something that a kid normally would want to do. But it warmed my heart, and that is barbecue.
Yeah.
Right? It's not about the food and eating afterwards. It's the process and the camaraderie and the drinking the beer or whatever, right?
100%.
And just hanging out.
And Pat's book, he describes the friends that you're going to need. He says, you need all different kinds. You have to have the friend that's going to manage the firewood, that's going to manage this.
Right.
Somebody's got to manage the pit. He goes, and then you're going to have the overnight guy. The overnight guy typically is like the 1 o'clock to 6 o'clock in the morning while everybody else is asleep. He's the guy. He goes, but you're going to have the one guy that's going to get way too drunk. He's going to be the shot guy who's going to be obnoxious. And come on, he goes, don't give that guy any responsibilities because he's just a jackass. But he's all of our
the
friend
entertainment
groups,
guy.
We all have one of those. And I was like, that was me. That was me when I was a drinker. And he goes, no, you'd be my overnight guy. He goes, you'd be my overnight guy. Because I had him on the show. I brought him on the podcast and we talked about the book, and that was even more so. I was like, okay, now I gotta do it.
Look, Pat's incredible. I worked for him for a short period of time.
He's the whole hog king.
Oh man, he's incredible. He's when it comes to barbecue, he gets it. He knows it, he gets it, and does an incredible job. So
he gets it, and he not only loves it, but he loves preserving the process of doing the original way of doing West Tennessee whole hog barbecue.
Right.
And he's a Nashville guy. Like he's a good dude.
Yeah,
he's a good dude.
Sure.
I like him
for sure. All right. Well, let's I got one other question for you.
Cool.
And then we're gonna go into my last random question. But with your company, New Light Hospitality, and the podcast, Nashville Restaurant Radio. So you're 20, 40, 50 years from now, right? What do you want the impact and the legacy of those to be?
Wow. Well, that's a big question, because there's so many things. I think that you got to leave the world better than you found it. And I think that in the world of social media and how much information goes around, there's a lot of misinformation about how to run and operate a restaurant, and employees are tough to find right now. I think that what I want to do, and I'm working on a new company. You can imagine that.
Imagine.
What I want to do is I want to bring communities together. right? Well, we're all in our businesses working really, really hard to do the things that we do. We don't have enough time to network and really reach out and create community. So I think that's something you're doing here with your podcast, something I've wanted to do with my podcast, but I'm starting something called the Nashville Restaurant Alliance. I haven't really spoke about this yet.
Okay.
Breaking it out here, right here on your show.
Well, breaking news, everybody.
The Nashville Restaurant Alliance is going to be an alliance for locally owned and operated restaurants in Nashville. And what I've done is it's kind of like what the Nashville Originals was. So the rest of the story of that conversation about Mahjong's and 10 Angel is, I think Rick Bolsom said, what if I got 40 restaurants together and could you come and can I put a deal together? Could you give me better pricing if I did that? And I was like, hell yeah. Volume speaks to everything, right? So if you get 40 restaurants together, I could put a deal together for you and I could do 40 restaurants. That makes sense, right? So the more volume, I can lower my prices. Let's make it happen. Well, he did that. He started something called the Nashville Originals and he brought like 50 restaurants together and it was, oh, look at this. But here's the thing. They didn't agree on anything. You get 50 local restaurants together and go, hey, let's do a deal with Cisco. And like, oh, I hate Cisco. I hate this guy. Nobody wanted to do that. And so I want to do something similar, but I want to take it to the next level. I hate Hillsborough Village today. Hillsborough Village was my favorite place in the entire world. It was my happy place in Nashville. Right. I loved Jackson's. I had my rehearsal dinner at Sunset Grill. The bar at Sam's was one of the most beloved places in the city, in my opinion. If you were a chef or anybody, you were at Sam's in the Village at 11 o'clock at night on a Tuesday.
At some point in time,
right? That was just a place you could go. I mean, the bartenders there, the drinks, the whole atmosphere was just like amazing. And Bosco's and just the whole scene over in Hillsborough Village was the best. And now there's a Ruby Sunshine and Hop Dottie and these national chains have come in. They've torn down buildings and it's just sad. I hate seeing what Hillsborough Village is. Excuse me. So if I was to have a lasting legacy, it would be to bring people together and build something that's sustainable. So what I would do with the alliance is I'd basically do something similar to the originals. I'd bring everybody together and then I would negotiate deals with all the major companies and I would foster relationships between restaurateurs and these companies because there's an innate distrust that anybody has when they're being sold something. Right. So anybody walks into Singletree and goes, hey, man, I saw you on TV and I sell insurance. And you're like, I get sold. Everybody in the world tries to sell me something. And people hate being sold something. Yep. But if there was an alliance where we vetted companies on the front end that you are here to help, you want to partner with people and you're going to offer the best deal to these locally owned and operated restaurants. But somebody has to make sure that relationship works. Excuse me. I think that what I would like to do is I would like to have a lasting impact on the industry, not only in Nashville. I think it starts in Nashville, but if we could teach these relational opportunities across the globe, how do we work well with people? And the companies that do the right thing and take care of people and partner with people, they get to thrive. And the companies that the term is called speeding, Cisco's notorious, and I'll just say the word Cisco. I'm sorry, Cisco. But they're in the past that, oh man, we got caught speeding in there. Yeah, the guy did a comparison and we were charging $92 case for romaine. Yeah, we brought it back down. We got caught speeding. Like,
right.
That shouldn't be a thing.
No.
You shouldn't take, locally owned and operated restaurants who are busting their ass to create hospitality in individual communities, to build these communities. And you're over here on a computer raising their prices $2 to $3 when they're not looking.
Right.
Like that should be illegal.
Yeah.
And that's something that has happened in the past. I'm not saying, and it happens today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it happens way more than it should.
It does. And somebody's got to represent the industry and stop that. And that's something that I want to do. So if I could do that and I could foster these relationships and I can help people that genuinely want to create hospitality for communities thrive, that would be the lasting impact I'd like to have.
That's incredible. That's incredible. I'm sure you're going to have that lasting impact because I've gotten to know you a little bit and I know there's some resilience to make sure it happens. So
I'm excited about it. It's something that is a passion of mine and I want to do.
I absolutely love it. All right. Last random question, Brandon. When you walk into or leave a room, what theme music should be played?
Wow. I don't know. I'm thinking like Nazareth. Like now you're messing with the son of a bitch. I think I Bad to the Bone, I think is what that's in my brain what I want to play.
I love it. No, that's what I want to hear, man. I love it. That's insane. That's
just one of these like, that guy's unfuckwithable, like
unfuckwithable.
I don't, but also some, like Louis Armstrong, It's a Wonderful World would also be something that I would love to be played. Like,
we're gonna have to get what's that sick guy or whatever, get him to do a mashup for you.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that I'm kind of all over the map with that one, but I think that you want people to know who you are and what you stand for very strongly.
Yeah.
But also do that with the most kindness you possibly can, like with a empathy and kindness that is just, as people go, wow, that guy, he's unfuckwithable, but man, he's a nice guy. Like he really genuinely cares and he wants everything to be better. And I don't know what song that is. Like I said, I always like Nazareth. It's like, now you're messing with a son of a bitch. I just that song, something about that, just the hook, the guitar, just something about that song I love.
No, that's exactly where my brain went when you said it. Yeah, that's outstanding. That is outstanding. All right, man, I appreciate you joining us today. Hey, this has been a blast. We will have to do it again soon for sure. Why don't you tell everybody how they can find you from, your new venture with the Nashville Restaurant Association Alliance. Okay,
so what's getting there? There's an Instagram page for it. I posted the logo.
Okay,
and there's a logo.
All right.
It's not like not happening.
Oh, it's happening.
There's a logo.
It's happening.
So it's happening.
I'm going to hold you to it.
I own the webpage. Yeah. So, but that's, if you're on Instagram, you can go like that. It has like less than 100 followers. I've done nothing. I've only posted the logo so far. So people are like, what is this thing? Hey, I'll follow it. I don't know what it is.
Follow it. Yeah.
We'll try it out.
You got that, the podcast.
Yeah. Nashville Restaurant Radio's on Instagram, Nashville_restaurant_radio. NashvilleRestaurantRadio.com. Of course, I've got my two restaurants, the Green Hills Grill in Green Hills, which is an amazing restaurant. If you haven't been there, we do an amazing brunch on the weekends, but it is the place where the Green Hills neighborhood eats. We do, it's a massively busy restaurant. We have reservations on Resi. And then Mare Bowl is in Brentwood, and it is a 7,500 square foot mansion. It's was the original mansion for Maryland Farms. Right there is the Maryland Farmhouse. It was a 400-acre horse farm, which is what the whole Maryland Farms area is. It is the anchor house. It was not a plantation. It was a guy named Truman Ward owned the home, and it's we've turned that into a fine dining restaurant. I say fine dining. It's a nice restaurant. We just redid the entire patio. We've got a new lounge in there. We're doing a Christmas pop-up this year. Okay. We're changing the name to Mary Bowls.
Okay.
We cross out the Mare, and it's now Mary Bowls.
I love it.
We'll have the house decorated, and the whole holiday season is going to be amazing. We're doing it's a Brentwood holiday tradition. Thanksgiving is our busiest day of the year. Christmas Eve's a lot of fun. The whole holidays are great at Mary Bowls. Yeah. So I got that going on, and I mean, my Instagram is Brandon_NRR. If you want to see what I'm eating, it's just kind of, that's like the one where I post all the outtakes and all the little things around the podcast and around the restaurants and what I'm doing. But yeah, other than that, I mean, I'm on all the social medias. Anywhere you find all this stuff, you can find me.
Awesome. I love it. Well, Brandon, thanks for joining. I appreciate it, man. Like I said, it's been a lot of fun. If you're not following Brandon, please do check out his podcast as well. With ours, please like, share, and subscribe. We love all the 5-star reviews we can get. So
yeah,
thanks for joining us. We'll see you guys next time.
Thanks, Charlie.
Thank you.